Can you believe this is my 3rd year in a row ranking my top fall palettes of the year? I started off with 10, then I went to 30, and now we're at 40. Now we have 40 palettes sitting in front of me that I think are the best palettes for the fall season. So grab a snack, grab a drink, because this could be another long one just like my Glamite was. Hello, my most beautiful friends in the entire world. You are looking extra fall-alicious. Do you like that little play right there? But y'all, I absolutely love fall. It is my absolute favorite time of year. If you guys can't tell, fall is my favorite time of year. And I did a video 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I guess. I'm not really sure. But I did my fall ranking palettes and I just decided to keep expanding it every single year. So I have 40 palettes sitting in front of me that do remind me of fall in one way or another. As we get down to the top like 10, it gets really hard for me, but we have 40 palettes sitting right in front of me. So we're gonna go ahead and kick it off. So up first, for number 40, we do have the Alter Ego Daylight palette. So first off, I love this packaging. I think this packaging is absolutely gorgeous. It does give you like a morning, fall vibe. Like you wake up on a Sunday morning, you want to go grab a little cup of coffee, hot coffee, and you just go walk through the trees and see the leaves changing, feel the fall breeze, see pumpkins everywhere. That is something that I envision whenever I see this palette, but unfortunately for me, it's so sad. I live in Florida. That is not a thing, okay? That is not a thing. We are still having temperatures in the mid 90s with like 100% humidity. It is still pure summer here. It will be summer up until like January. So we don't get to experience something like this. So I think that's why I love fall so much, because I know this is like not a thing for us. So I try to take advantage of it whenever I can and like experience it wherever I can. So this is the Daylight palette from Alter Ego. Now, when you first look at this palette, you're probably thinking, how the hell does this remind you of fall? Let me tell you. So this is going to be a cool tone neutral palette. And for the fall season, you can definitely utilize these colors. You can create everyday neutral eye looks. But I think for me, it's more of the outside packaging and the names that really kind of represent fall the most. Like you're going to have names like fresh, airy, sunlit, misk, brisk, fawn, gleam, coffee, along with this beautiful outside packaging. So it's why it's ranked really low on the list, because even though it's not true fall in my mind, it does have those fall elements that I do look for in a fall palette. Plus I can create an everyday neutral eye look all season long, not just for fall, but I could also create it for the winter season as well. So it's kind of like a mix of both. But for me, it's not my absolute favorite when it comes to fall, but it does hit some fall marks. So that is why at number 40, we do have the Alter Ego Daylight palette. Coming at number 39, we do have the Ace Beauté. This is going to be the Flare palette right here. Now this palette, when you first see it, you might be like, okay, where is the fall? Let me say, first off, the outside packaging, it definitely has some fall vibes. It is orange themed, and so yes, I'm a little biased because I do think orange does remind me a lot of fall, but it's the color story on the inside. When you open it up, you're going to have these beautiful deep rich colors. So this whole row right here screams fall. This entire row screams fall, but so does the orange shade. Oh, so does the green shade and this little shades right here. Those can definitely be correlated with fall, and even some of these blues. Like I would say this blue more than anything can definitely be correlated with a fall color. It's like that fall blue. Plus you have some names in here like cider, saffron, pumpkin, hazelnut, forest pine, moss, acorn. Those are definitely fall-esque vibes. At least in my opinion, that's what I get. And that's what I was inspired for when I created my own Falling Love palette with Ofra. So for me, while this may not have everything fall related, it does have quite a few colors in here that do resemble fall, along with the shade names that definitely kind of represent fall for me. So that is why at number 39, we do have the Flare palette from Ace Beauté. I can't tell if my look needs like a black liner because I'm using a yellow liner, but whatever, we're going to go for it. So coming in at number 38, we do have the Huda Beauty Empowered palette. Now listen, this may not scream fall at first, and for good reason. I get it, because it's definitely a like neutral palette, but the reason why it's so correlated with fall is because of when I filmed this. So I actually filmed this 2 years ago. I distinctly remember it, like me filming this and having like my Halloween background. I remember I filmed it in October. This was supposed to be the Huda Beauty Christmas release, and I just remember being so in love with this. Like I literally, like, I'm not kidding when I say that, like I distinctly remember playing this because I was playing Dreamlight Valley. That's when Disney had just recently released their Disney Dreamlight Valley game. Okay, I had just been playing that, had my Halloween background everywhere, and I just remember reviewing this and being so in love with this. So for me, I still correlate it with fall because I did film this in the middle of October, and you guys know that's my favorite time of the year, and you can definitely do some fall looks with this. I think with for me, it's the gold shades that you can mix with the browns. You have a little bit of like a burnt orange in here, some neutral shades you can definitely utilize for the fall season, and not just for fall. You can definitely utilize this for Christmas as well, but it definitely just kind of encompasses both. Like it's like a holiday palette for me. It definitely kind of fits both vibes. So for me, it's why it's still pretty low on the list, but I still do consider it some fall colors, because when you have a gold that looks like this, like for me, golds like this definitely kind of resemble fall. Like I kind of have a gold shade like that in my eye. I feel like it's just that particular like sunflower yellow that you look for. I look for sunflowers. I look for like deep burnt yellows, like that yellow right there. Whenever I see those, I do correlate that with the fall season. So that is why this is still on my list and ranked at number 38, because for me, you can definitely utilize this a lot during the fall season as well as the winter season. So number 38, we do the Huda Beauty Empowered palette. My number 37, we do have the Urban Decay Naked Honey palette. Now, when I reviewed this palette, I remember reviewing it and I remember talking about, I believe, mental health or something around mental health. And I would love to do like an updated video, because I could definitely talk about mental health way more than I could have back then. I definitely think I have grown and evolved and have just figured out different ways to deal with my anxiety and mental health. But anyway, I remember reviewing this palette and I fell in love with this palette. It's one of the few naked palettes that I still currently own that I still love. And for me, this will always be a fall vibe palette. First off, the outside packaging is absolutely gorgeous. It's that fall color, that beautiful like honey mustard shade, very gorgeous. And then you open up the color store on the inside, you're going to have like those sunflower colors. So for me, there's like two different type of falls. You have the September fall, and then you have the October, November fall. Even though like October is still Halloween for me, you still have those different color falls. So usually at the end of August, early September, you really start to see the colors change, at least up north, not here, but up north, they really can start seeing the colors change from green to like orange and yellow and brown and just like a moss green, maybe some purples or, you know, reds. Like they can see so many different things, but you see sunflowers present so many times. At least down here, we have a lot of sunflowers. So for me, like if you ever look at fall decor, they always have sunflowers in their fall decor. Sunflowers are very present. They're my absolute favorite flower. I love sunflowers so much. This is the time of year that we get to go to one of our farms we have here and go pick fresh sunflowers, which I think is so much fun. And that's usually for me representing the end of summer, early transition into fall. So for me, this is what that vibe feels like, because you're going to have those beautiful sunflower shades right here. I love those mustard yellows that you see in here, correlating with those browns, pretty much transitioning from summer to fall. And I love everything about that. I've ranked this every year that I've done my ranking. This palette has been featured every single time, because while it may not be a true fall palette, it definitely has those fall vibes with those sunflower colors in here, and I just think it's really gorgeous. So that is why at number 37 we do have the Naked Honey palette. Now we have a new palette being featured. I don't think this palette was featured last year. Actually, I think we have two new palettes. We have two existing palettes and two new palettes. And as you guys are going to see throughout this ranking, you're going to see definitely a lot of repeats, but you're also going to see some palettes that were featured in the last 2 years, no longer featured in here because I don't have them anymore. I did declutter them. And you're also going to see some new faces. So coming in number 36, we do have the Artitude Cosmetics. This is the Absentian palette. And first off, the outside packaging, fall. Hello, you have the falling leaves, right? Mine did tear right here. You pull open the unicarton, and you're going to have the girl covered in fall leaves, right? Absolutely gorgeous. And then you open the color store on the inside. Now, the color store on the inside doesn't necessarily scream fall because it's going to be a cool tone, muted fall palette. Now, stick with me here because I'm always about the warm fall colors. This is definitely more about the muted, cool tone fall palettes, but I still enjoy this. Plus, they have everything in here has to do with fall. You have fall, dead weight, let go, new beginnings, life, crisp, seasons, maple, daylight, renew, leaves, journey, detachment. Like there's so many different shades in here, that shade names that do definitely represent the fall season, and as well as the fall colors. Like these are going to be more on your cool tone fall vibes, so they may not exactly represent fall the way that I'm used to seeing it, but I do like a good cool tone moment, and I feel like you don't really see that many cool tone fall palettes. Majority of them are warm tone. This is a very cool tone, muted color story, and I'm actually living for it. I'm living for it. So while it may not be very high on the list, it still hits those fall marks I look for in terms of packaging, shade names to color stories. So for me, that is why at number 36, we do have the Artitude Cosmetics Ascension palette. Coming in at number 35, this palette was actually featured, I think the first year, maybe the second. This palette was featured definitely last year, maybe the first year, maybe not the first year, but definitely last year. And I was really blessed because I went to the Creator and Friends event back in April. I went to New Orleans and I happened to win on my Survivor auction a bag full of Fantasy Cosmetica palettes. Now, if you guys did not know, I have a wide variety of palettes in my collection. I had over 500 at one point. I did declutter it down to like 380. I don't know where I stand now. It's been over almost a year since we last counted. And I had showed you guys all of my Fantasy Cosmetica palettes and they were all breaking. They were all breaking. I don't know why. I don't know how. I keep mine really nice. They're not tight in there. They're not, squished. They're not squished tightly. They're kept at a, great temperature. So I don't know why my shadows are breaking, but maybe it's just because the way they're pressed. So I had talked about this barred palette last year. And in my palette ranking, I had showed you that my shades were breaking. And I was able to get a replacement because I won at my Survivor auction. So coming in number 35, we do have the Barb palette right here. Now for me, the only reason why this palette is really going to be featured in here is because of the color story. It's not really anything else more than just the color story. You're going to have some fall shades. You're going to have the shade called, you're going to have the fall shades. You're going to have these little row right here that really kind of represent fall to me, along with this little moss green. The blues and the green right here and this don't really scream fall, but it's just the outer edge, the outer corners that kind of scream fall to me. And that is why I did put it in here. I put it in there last year. I think it was ranked pretty low as well. But I just love the color story. Like when I look for fall, I look for these kind of colors that really do represent the fall season. These are the colors that I see on the leaves whenever I look up like fall seasons or fall leaves falling. These are the colors that I see, and this is what I see represented in here. So that is why I do feature this palette, because it does have some fall-esque vibes. So coming in number 35, we do have the Barb palette from Fantasy Cosmetics, from Cosmetica, and I'm so glad that I was able to replace my broken palette because I did actually declutter this one last year. Coming in number 34, we have another repeat palette, but for me, this palette just encompasses the entire fall season, not just fall, winter as well. But at number 34, we do have the Tarte Man-Eater palette. This is going to be the Man-Eater right here, and I think this is so pretty. I think you're going to have a great neutral palette with some pops of falls in here. You're gonna have like these orange, you're gonna have these mustard yellows, the oranges, the blacks, the burgundy purples, and like the forest green. Those are colors I look for, like I said, during the fall season. I feel like this really kind of hits the mark of that. Not only can you utilize this for fall, but you can definitely utilize this for the winter season as well, because you're gonna have those gold shades in here. Golds are one of those shades that you can do a lot during the fall season, a lot during the winter season. And you could also do a lot of gold shades for summer, do like a really bronzy look. So I really love how universal the shade gold is, and that's kind of like what you see right here. I ranked this somewhat high last year. I just love the fact that it can definitely be utilized for both fall and winter. So that is why at number 34 we do the Tarte Man-Eater palette. I'm not used to wearing just a matte lip. Okay, so coming in at number 33, we have a new palette being introduced to the line. So number 33, we do have the ColourPop Precious Metals palette. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, why? Allie, why? Now, let me tell you why. The reason why this is being introduced into this category is because of this little quadrant right here. This little quadrant speaks fall to me. This screams fall. Now, over here, you have winter. Winter, everyday neutral, winter, fall. So to me, it's like kind of like an all-around universal palette for the entire fall winter season. So it's why I do feature it today, but mostly primarily the reason why it's gonna be number 34 on the list is because of this little quadrant right here. These little 9-pan shadows definitely scream fall. You're gonna have those brown shades, those orange shades, and the yellow gold shades. So it's just, to me, fall. This fall, you can create so many looks with this. Not to mention, you can definitely utilize it for the winter season and just an everyday palette. But for me, that was a really pretty palette. I loved playing with this. I loved swatching this. And when I first saw this, I was like, oh my God, this is so universal. I could use it for so many different seasons. I could also use this for summer. But yeah, I really do think it has some fall aspects to it with those shades. So that is why at number 33, we do have the Precious Metal palette from It's Another Day, Another ColourPop. Coming in at number 32, we have another It's Another Day, Another ColourPop. It's a Mood palette. Now this has been featured every time I've done my ranking because this literally, it's a mood. First off, the outside packaging, I love the orange color story. And when you open the palette on the inside, you are going to have fall inspired shades. You're going to have a whole row of oranges, the muted greens, the whole row of oranges, the purples, the greens, and even some of these blues. Like, I think for me, blues like this do have that fall vibe. I noticed that with a lot of fall palettes, I usually tend to use a blue like this. I don't really know how to classify the shade name other than like fall blue. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like this particular blue that is used a lot for the fall season. You're going to have those plum purples that are definitely correlated with fall, the beautiful pumpkin oranges, the mossy greens, and a little bit of the golds right here. For me, this is definitely a mood. This is definitely a vibe. This came out a couple years ago during the fall season. This is supposed to be ColourPop's version of a fall palette. I think they did a phenomenal job with it. This sold out. Everybody wanted to get their hands on it. I loved it the second I got it, and I definitely utilized this a lot during the fall season, so that is why I do rank it every year. So coming at number 32, we have the ColourPop It's a Mood palette. Coming at number 31, when I first saw this palette, I was like, this is really pretty. I have to have it. I remember Betty Jean showed me this palette and I was like, oh my God, I have not heard of this brand before. How have I not? Then I got my hands on it and you guys all said that you knew that I would love this, particularly for fall. And that is the Barely Basic palette from Cosmetics Cosmetics. So this is the Barely Basic. So this is supposed to be like your everyday neutral palette. And for me, it is, but it also has the fall vibes to it. So first off, the outside packaging, absolutely gorgeous. And then when you flip it over, you're going to have this gorgeous color story right here. Now, the reason why this is going to be ranked is, do you guys not see the bottom half of this palette? Literally orange, mossy green, plum purples. Boom. Say less. Say less. Plus you have the one shade right here called Pumpkin Spice. You know, everything else is like not pumpkin spice related. But for me, it's just a color story. It's going to be a cool tone, muted fall palette. And again, you just don't see it that often, especially when I do my rankings. You'll notice a lot of the palettes are very, very warm tone. So to have a cool tone, muted color story for fall gets me super excited. You can utilize these colors all season long. You have the beautiful like duochrome and multi-chrome shimmers to go with it. But I just saw this and I immediately thought this is fall. I love the cool tone oranges, the mossy greens, and the cool tone plum purples. Those are beautiful. Those are what I look for when I was creating my own color story with Ofra Cosmetics, and I just really, really enjoyed this color story. So that is why at number 31, we do have the Cosmetics Barely Basic palette. And to round out the 30s, we have another new palette being introduced. You guys saw this and again thought, Allie would love that. You guys are not any surprised that I got it, but it is the Cosmic Brushes. This is the Neutros palette right here. Now, I actually am wearing one of the shades. Actually, I think two of the shades from this palette. And that is this shade right here and right here that I am using to make this really chaotic eye look. I don't really know how I feel about the look. I can't tell if I want to have a black liner or not. I don't know if I feel the vibe of it now that I have it on. I don't know, but you know what? We're going for it. We already did the eye look. It took me a while to do, and I just don't know if I'm feeling it, but it's fine. So when I first saw this palette, I thought, oh my God, this is fall. So you're going to have that mossy, cool tone green. You're going to have the mustard yellow. You're going to have this gorgeous, gorgeous like duochrome orange green shift right here. You're going to have a golden shade right here that I freaking love. You're going to have the beautiful Halloween plum purple. You're going to have a black. You're going to have the another duochrome mix between green and pink. Very pretty, very neutral, very, 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 very much fits the vibe of fall, especially the shade right here called Radiant. Like this is like a white gold green shift. It's absolutely stunning. I remember when I played with this palette, I was really blown away and I thought, wow, this is a neutral palette, but God, it has so many different fall aspects to it. Shade names do not scream fall, packaging does not scream fall, but it's these shades themselves that definitely have fall vibes to it. You guys saw it immediately. I saw it immediately, so I knew I had to get it, and then I played with it. I was like, this is everything. So that is why to round off the 30s, we do have the Cosmic Brushes Neutrals palette. Alrighty, so coming in number 29, we have Melt Cosmetics. This is going to be the 420 palette. Obviously, the 420 has nothing to do with fall, right? No, it has something to do with fall. But the outside color story, okay, we can go with that, right? Love how this is a lenticular motion shift. I love whenever companies do that. But it's the color story on the inside. So the color story on the inside is exactly what I'm talking about when it comes between the like fall summer transition. So you're going to have those beautiful fall shades from this shade forward, all screams fall. You're going to have that like beautiful sunflower yellow. You're going to have a golden shade, a deep orange burnt brown. Like I think this is really beautiful. You're going to have an actual brown along with a deeper like wooden brown. Like, I think these shades are really beautiful. Plus, you're gonna have like that mossy green. So for me, whenever I see this palette, I see the transition. I see the sunflowers. I see this is the beginning of the fall season for me. I get inspired every time when I look at this palette, especially the shade right here called Wax. This is one of my favorite yellow colors out there. I think it's so freaking pretty. I do love a good burnt orange brown. I think it's so pretty as well. And for me, these are just shades I look for in terms of a fall color, plus with a golden shade to go with that. So that is why, to start off the 20s, at number 29, we do have the 420 palette from Milk Cosmetics. We're going to ignore what else this palette stands for. We're just going to look at it for the fall colors. Number 28, this palette kind of took me by surprise. When I first saw this, I thought, oh my God, this is going to be gorgeous. Then I saw the color store on the inside, and I was like, I don't know. But it wasn't until I played with that I was like, okay, I could see the fall vibes. So coming in number 28, we do have the Nomad Cosmetics. This is the 5 Fuji Lakes palette. Now, this is supposed to be Japan's version of fall. Now, when they created this palette, they created it based upon the Mount Fuji and the 5 lake that surrounded it, where it's a very cool tone color story. So first off, the outside packaging is absolutely gorgeous. I love this outside packaging. I love that it's like an actual like painted canvas. It looks so pretty. But the colors on the inside really kind of threw me off at first, because I was like, this is like a icy snow palette more than it is fall. But then I started to see the fall colors when I started playing with this. So you're going to have those cool tone reds, the cool tone yellows, and the cool tone blues, like this blue right here in particular. And there's that blue again that I talked about that really started to make me see, okay, this is definitely fall because of the color story. And the way that I did my look, I utilized all the shades to really kind of capture what I thought was a cool tone fall look. And I really loved it. And I really ended up falling in love with this palette. It actually took me by surprise. But for me, I like how they were actually able to capture the fall season for what it is in Japan versus like the fall season for like what it is here, like in Salem or in Maine. When you guys have these gorgeous colors, they don't necessarily have that there. They have that icy snow fall season like you see right here, and they were able to capture that. And I think that was really beautiful. So for me, while it definitely isn't the most fall-esque, it's the color story and the outside packaging that do kind of scream for it. And I do love a good cool tone moment. I really do. So that is why at number 28, we do have the Nomad Cosmetics 5 Fuji Lakes palette. Coming number 27, I bought this palette and I was kind of, I don't know, I didn't want to miss it. Recently bought this palette. It's a new palette being featured. But I bought it and I was like, I don't know how I feel about it. So you have the Too Faced Happily in Love palette. So first off, the outside packaging, apples, right? Apples, fall, duh. And the color story on the inside definitely does have some fall vibes to it. Now, is it the most wowing palette? No, it's definitely not. It definitely is more of a neutral color story with pops of colors. Have we seen these color stories before with Too Faced? Yes, we have. The smell though, my God, it smells like a freaking caramel apple. And I do not eat caramel apples, by the way. I actually don't eat anything sticky because I have very sensitive teeth. I'm very prone to cavities. And for me, anything that sticks to the teeth, I hate it. I'm not a fan of it in the slightest. But I love a good smelling caramel apple. I'll smell one all day. I love the taste of caramel. I just don't physically eat it. So for me, I can appreciate the palette for what it is. So you do have some fall vibes in here. You have fall names. You have like Turnover, Caramel Apple, Apple of My Eye, Candy Apple, Orchid Stroll. You have those beautiful fall colors right here of the yellow, the plums, the gold. You have a little green-esque and like the cool tone reds. I think it's a really pretty palette. Was it my favorite? No, but it definitely has fall to it. Like I have to put it a little bit higher than the other ones because you're going to have definitely those fall vibes with it being the smell, some of the shade names in here, the color story. But I think what did it most for me was the smell. So that's why it's ranked higher than others. But coming in at number 27, we do have the Happily in Love palette from Too Faced. Coming in at number 26, I actually ranked this last year. I don't remember where, but coming in at number 26, we did the Game Beauty. This is the Victory palette. Now we're going to ignore the outside packaging because the outside packaging has nothing to do with fall. It's the color story on the inside. For the color story, you're going to have those beautiful oranges. You're going to have the burnt orange brown. You're going to have that beautiful blue, the same blue. It's in all fall palettes. You're going to have the browns, the yellows, and the golds, and a little bit of the white. So when I saw this, I ranked this, I think, like in an honorable mention last year, and I still stand by it. I think it's a really pretty palette. I think Game Beauty did a good job with kind of capturing the essence of the season, even though like that was not what this palette's intended for. It still fits a lot of fall vibes in here. I love the color story. I love that it just reminds me of fall. It gets me inspired to do a fall look with this, and I just think it's really pretty. So coming in at number 26, we do have the Victory palette from Game Beauty. Coming number 25, this palette right here, I think will be ranked every year just because it has to be, right? But it's so funny because I look back and I try to get a swatch from there. I forgot, y'all. I forgot that your girl used to do swatches right here. Why? I'll never know. I used to do swatches right here for some reason. Then I would do swatches right here, and then you'd always see me pulling my skin over. Y'all, I don't know what I was thinking. Beats me. So coming number 25, you'll see the swatches talking about. We have the ColourPop Honey palette. So first off, I love the color story. I love a monochromatic color story. And yellow, it's my second favorite color in the entire world. And I think this is so pretty. So for me, this is like a sunflower palette. Like this is like a sunflower palette. It's so pretty. It definitely hits the mark of what I'm looking for when it comes to shades. Now I think the only thing I would take out of it is this little like, you know, glittery shade right here. The rest is that transition between the fall and summer season, which I really, really love seeing. This reminds me of sunflowers. Even though it's supposed to be like a honey palette, you can use this for like the spring, summer. I use this a lot for the fall season because I do actually mix it with other palettes you guys will see me talk about in a little bit. I mix it with other ColourPop palettes to really kind of create an epic, like if I can stick them all together, it'd be the most epic freaking fall palette ever, but I can't. But I do love it for that. So that is why at number 25, we do have the Honey palette from ColourPop. Number 24, you guys have actually never seen me feature this palette on my channel, but I did get it in an Ipsy box a while back. And I remember I saw this and I thought, wow, this is a beautiful fall palette. So I chose to keep it and I'm really glad I did. But coming in at number 24, we do have the Laura Geller. This is the Wildflowers palette. Can we talk about how beautiful this is? It's going to be another cool tone fall palette. Even though it's not meant to be fall, it's meant to be like a flower palette. Y'all, it has fall colors. You'll see those mossy greens, the oranges, the yellows, and along with like the cool tone neutrals to go with it. For me, anything that you can kind of mix as a cool tone neutral along with like muted fall, it's going to be fall for me. You have those beautiful shades in here, like this shade called Tiger Lily. It's really pretty. It's like that beautiful pumpkin orange, like literally pumpkin orange. I think it's so pretty. You're gonna have a beautiful sunflower gold, and I think these go together hand in hand. I love sunflowers. You're gonna have that poppy shade, which is gonna be like a mossy green, which I used in my palette, along with magnolia, which is gonna be like a burnt red right here. It's like a cool tone burnt red. And then you're also gonna have this little shade. It's gonna make a little brown shade. Does that not look like fall to you? Does that not look like fall? So for me, it's why I put it a little bit higher than others, because it still has a lot of fall colors to it. It's still like that transition between summer and fall where you have those beautiful sunflowers, everything's starting to change colors. So that's why I did rank it pretty high up compared to others. Plus, when you look at that right there, that is a perfect 5-pan fall palette, if you ask me. So coming number 24, we do have the Laura Geller. This is going to be the Wildflower palette. Coming number 23, I believe I actually did feature this palette last year. But when I first got this palette in PR, I just did a random look with it. And then when I did my look, I was like, wow, this definitely has a lot of fall like tones to it, even though it's definitely not a fall palette. But coming in at number 23, we do have the Lion King palette from Essence. So when you open the color story, like that is fall. Like that is fall. You're going to have those oranges, those browns, and the golds. Point blank. What more can I say? What more can I say other than it definitely has those fall vibes between the oranges, the golds, and the browns. And those are colors that I would wear all fall season just because they are just so complementary of each other. They scream fall. I could wear beautiful bold fall lip to go with it. And I just really, really love these shades a lot. And when I created my look, I utilized these shimmers right here along with the browns. And I just love the look that I created. And I was like, wow, this is really fall-esque. And you guys loved it as well. So that's why it's ranked pretty high compared to others. So at number 23, we do have the Lion King palette. Coming in at number 22, we have the Essence Shake It Up. This is the iced caramel latte. First off, I feel like all of us get caramel lattes or pumpkin spice lattes or anything like that, especially caramel-esque. Like it's like spiced, like salted caramel is like a huge thing during the fall season. That's when everybody loves salted caramel. So first off, that automatically makes me think of fall. And then you open the color story up. Need I say more? You have those burnt oranges, you have the browns, you have the plums, and you have the golden yellows. What more can I say? Literally, this is everything that I look for. This is fall. I love this color story. It's why I got it. It's supposed to be like a coffee inspired, but for me, it definitely is like fall inspired. I can use this palette to create beautiful fall looks in every single shade. Every single shade can be utilized for fall. So that is why I did rank it pretty high. Not as high as others, just because I do like others more. But this, to me, it definitely is what I look for in a fall palette, between the oranges, the browns, the plums, and the yellows. It's what I look for. So that is why at number 22, we have the Iced Caramel Latte palette from Essence. Coming in at number 21, I actually discovered this palette last year to be a fall palette when I was actually going through my collection. And this one kind of took me by surprise because I didn't expect it to be fall, but it genuinely is. And it is the Jaclyn Hill collaboration with Morphe. This is the Armed and Gorgeous palette. Now, when you look at the color story on the inside, you can definitely see what I'm talking about. You're going to have those golden yellows, the oranges, the browns, and that like forest green right here. That's what I usually look for when it comes to fall palettes. It's just those particular shades. If I see those shades in here, I get super excited. Now, nothing else about this palette screams fall in the slightest. Nothing else. It's strictly the color story. It's strictly the color story, the combination. Everything about this is what I would use for the fall season, between those gold shades, the orange shades, the brown shades, and possibly even that green shade, because you could definitely utilize green. I put green in my own palette. It could just it's just a very beautiful shade for the fall season, and I just feel like this is just a beautiful palette. I feel like it hits the mark I'm looking for. So that is why at number 21, we do have the Jaclyn Hill collaboration with Morphe, the Armed and Gorgeous palette. Now, to round out the 20s, it would not be a fall ranking palette if we did not feature this palette, because this literally is fall, and it is the Too Faced Pumpkin Spice Second Slice palette. Now, obviously, pumpkin pie rolls out during the fall season. It is my absolute favorite pie. I will eat it to no ends, by the way. It is my absolute go-to. I love everything about pumpkin pie. I love anything pumpkin flavored. I am the basic white girl when it comes to that. Yes, I am. I make pumpkin coffee at home. Like, I love anything and everything pumpkin. I just think it has such an amazing flavor to it. So obviously this palette has to be featured because it is a pumpkin palette. So we have the Too Faced Pumpkin Spice Second Slice palette. Now, the color story on the inside may not be my favorite, and oh my god, is my smell dissipating? It's dissipating. Okay, so here we have the pumpkin pie palette. Now, everything about this palette screams fall, from the outside color story to the shade names. Granted, it's supposed to be a pumpkin pie palette, but the shade names do match. You know, like Squash It, Crust Issues, Cutie Pie, Pick Up the Patch, Eyes on Pie, Thankful, Spiced, Scary Spiced, Second Helping, Toasted, Fall Feels. It's all fall. The color story is fall. Now, it's definitely not my favorite fall palette, but it has those fall colors. And that's why I rank it pretty high compared to other ones, just because it does have fall vibes from the outside packaging to the color story on the inside. While it may not be the best, the shade names kind of match with it, and it just has those typical fall vibe colors. So, plus it's like it definitely was a fall palette. So coming in at number 20 to round it out, we do have the Too Faced Pumpkin Spice Second Slice palette. Okay, to start off the teens, this is where it definitely starts to get hard for me, because they're all so beautiful in their own way, and I love every single one of them. I love every single palette that I mentioned, by the way. I wouldn't have kept it in my collection if I did not. This is where it starts to get hard for me, because this is where it really starts to all start to look together and look alike, but I kind of had to go for what I felt more. So starting off number 19, we do have the Made by Mitchell. This is the Me, Myself, and I palette, but only one palette is fall. So when you look at this palette, it's a two-sided palette with a mirror in between, okay? You're going to have one side and the other. Now this right here, it has some fall-esque vibes. It has some fall shades, but really it's this palette right here that really kind of screams fall. It's this color story that I was in love with. It has what I'm looking for between the yellows, oranges, and those burgundy red shades. It's just so pretty. It just reminds me of fall. I got this, I think, actually during the fall season. I think back in 2019. Mind you, 2019, I think, or maybe in 2018. Honestly, it's been a long time. One of my closest friends, Mikey, got this for me, and don't forget it, this palette has been featured every single time I do a palette ranking, and when it comes to fall, because it definitely does scream fall. Some shades in the back could be considered it, right? You have that beautiful green right here and a little bit of the purples down here that could be considered fall related, but mostly it's just the front color story right here that everything about this is screams fall. You could do beautiful sunset looks with this, fall looks with this. You could do so much, and it definitely is a palette that you can utilize for more than just that because I can utilize some of these shades right here for fall as well. So it definitely is all encompassing. So that is why starting off at number 19, we do have the Me, Myself, and I Made by Mitchell palette. Coming number 18, we have a little mini palette from Game Beauty. This is the Senna palette right here. And this is just a little mini quad palette, but it's fall. Like it has this beautiful fall colors of the yellow, the orange, and the brown. Like that's literally what I look for. And I just really think this is so cute. This is one of those travel fall palettes you can create that you can travel with. Actually, it's so funny. When Angelica came to visit me, she was actually wearing this palette and it was so pretty. I saw her eyes and I was like, dang, like that to me is like, that's a fall vibe you're wearing. I don't even think she realized that she was rocking the fall colors, but I sure as hell was realizing it. And I was like, that is such a gorgeous palette. What is it? And she said, the Senna. I was like, I just got that in PR. I got so excited. And I just loved it. I remember when I did my palette ranking this past year, ranking all the palettes I tried, I talked about this being a beautiful fall palette. And here we are. At number 18 is the Senna palette, because this is a really beautiful quad palette on the go. You can create every day, you can create beautiful fall vibes with this. And I just think that they did such a good job. Plus, I'm kind of biased to an orange shade that has shimmer in it. I love it. Coming at number 17, we have the Inslee Ring Cosmetics Groovy Garden palette. Now this actually just got restocked if you guys do want to go pick this up. This was actually ranked my #1 palette that I tried so far this year, and I still stand by that, but I obviously, it's not my #1 fall palette, but it still is like one of my #1 palettes I've tried so far. I love the formula, I love the packaging, and I love the color story in here. So here's going to be the Groovy Garden palette. I really want to get the Harvest Moon one. I've not had a chance to pick that up. That is like another beautiful fall palette that I need to get my hands on. I believe that's currently restocked now, so I'll have to go check. But for me, this is another cool tone fall vibes. You're going to have those mossy greens, muted yellows and oranges and browns, muted plum purples and greens, and you're gonna have this beautiful array of duochrome and multi-chromes right here. Not only are these absolutely stunning, but the formula is spectacular, but they are perfect for the fall season because you can kind of mix and match them to create beautiful fall vibe looks in here. And I live for this palette. I live for everything about this palette. I think it's such a stunning palette. I love the color story. It's why it ranked #1 of the palettes I tried this year because of these shades right here. Like, look at that. That is a beautiful, cool tone, muted color story for fall. Like, come on. And you can have those beautiful multi-chromes to go with it. It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. And like I said, I believe this just got restocked. So if you guys want to pick it up, go get your hands on it because these do sell out rather fast. And at number 16, we have the ColourPop Orange You Glad palette. Now, I think this palette mixed with the Honey and the Big Poppy palette would make the most stunning fall palette, but ColourPop has not listened to me yet. They've not combined them together. Maybe one day they will. But here we have the Orange You Glad palette. Need I say more? It's orange. Orange is correlated with fall and Halloween, but fall. You know what I mean? Like, do I need to say more? It's literally fall. It's fall. Even though it's an orange themed palette, it's fall for me. I think the reason why it's just a bit lower than others is just because it needs to have a good yellow in there. It needs to have a good brown. It needs to have maybe a orange, a muted green, maybe a plum. Like, I can go without the greens, but it needs to have at least yellow, orange, brown, plum, and possibly red are the colors I really, really, really look for. And it just kind of mostly has just those oranges in here, the different variations of it. So while it's not my absolute favorite, it's still ranked pretty high because I could still do so much with it. So coming in number 16, we have the ColourPop Orange You Glad palette. Coming in number 15, we have the ColourPop Big Poppy palette. And this is supposed to be inspired by a flower, I believe, but I'm inspired by fall. Literally I'm inspired by fall. You're gonna have those beautiful pumpkin oranges and those beautiful burnt browns to an actual like deep wood brown, along with a little bit of more lighter shades to use transition shades with. But I just think that this is such a stunning palette. I think ColourPop did a really good job with this, and if you mix this palette with like the Little Ray of Sunflower palette, oh my god, it is like my ideal muted. It's my idea matte fall palette, but they, again, don't listen to me. But I just think it's a beautiful color story. I could do so much of this. I think the colors do scream fall whenever I look at it. I get so inspired. I get so happy whenever I see it. I look at it and go, it's the fall time. And it just, I get just so inspired. So that is why at number 15, we do have the Big Poppy palette from ColourPop. Coming in number 14, we have the Ace Beauté. This is going to be the Flora palette. Now, this is a, sunflower. This is a flower palette. And for me, this just reminds me of sunflowers. You're going to have those mustard yellows, those reddish oranges, those reddish browns, and a beautiful, beautiful golden shade to go with that. Like when I see this, I think of a sunflower. And like I said, sunflowers remind me so much of the fall season. They typically are in a lot of like fall decor. They throw a lot of like pumpkins and sunflowers just because they're those beautiful colors that really do complement each other a lot. And I just always see sunflowers and I think of the fall season. And I just think this is so freaking pretty, and that's what this reminds me of. This reminds me of a sunflower that's just blooming during the fall season. And I can create a beautiful, beautiful like mustard yellow with a little bit of brick red shade in here to create a really fall-esque vibe, and it's why it's ranked a little bit higher than others. So coming number 14, we have the Flora palette from Ace Beauté. Coming number 13, this palette actually dropped in the ranks compared to the last 2 years, but I was so upset when I opened my palette because I had no idea when this happened. But somehow this happened within the last time I used this palette. But it is the Be Perfect Cosmetics Carnival 3 Love Tahiti Stacey Marie palette. When you open the color story, it screams fall. All those bright colors. But look at that. My mirror is shattered. When did that happen? How did that happen? Why did that happen? I opened it today and I was like, I'm so sad. Like, I hope it doesn't get any of my eyeshadow because I've never had that happen before. But anyway, like I say every year, I love this palette. I think it's a beautiful palette for the fall season because you're going to have these 3 rows right here that are perfect for the fall colors. You're also going to have a combination of the plum purples along with some of the greens that you can utilize for the fall season. Like, I love these bright, warm tone, colorful palette. It's so beautiful. It's bright, it's bold, it's in your face. And just this particular row right here along with some of these shades, it just really kind of scream fall when I look at it because I can do so much. Like this sunflower, like this burnt, like this orangey yellow, like this orange peel orange shade right here, so freaking gorgeous. You're gonna have the browns, the oranges, the mustard yellows, you're gonna plum purples and the greens, and I don't know, I love it so much, and I always think this reminds me so much of fall. It's why I originally got it. So coming in at number 13, we have the Carnival 3 palette from Stacey Marie and Be Perfect Cosmetics. Okay, so coming number 12, this palette has been ranked every year, and I'm really sad to say that we have not seen this brand launch anything in a long time. I recently did see that they came back and like were kind of come back to Instagram, and they did ask me what animals do I think that they should feature, and I kind of gave them some suggestions. And even though they do go with the suggestions, at the end of the day, if they're supporting the animal, that's literally all I care about because I love any brand that supports giving back to animals. They have my heart. So coming in at number 12, we do have the Endangered Cosmetics. This is going to be the Red Panda palette. First off, love the video that I did with this. I love the eye look that I did with this. I love the organization that they were supporting. But you open the color store on the inside, this is supposed to represent a red panda, but like, I see fall. I see fall. The look that I did with this was fall. It is such a stunning, gorgeous, gorgeous palette. You're going to have, again, those mustard yellows, those oranges, the browns, and a little bit of a black shade. I like when there's like a black thrown in there because black can definitely be correlated with fall as well. And it's just so pretty. It's so pretty. It captures what I look for in a fall palette. Not to the T, but just enough to get me super excited to create a fall vibe look. So that is why every year this is ranked a lot higher, just because everything about this is just like kind of like what I look for. So coming in at number 12, we do have the Red Panda palette from Endangered Cosmetics, and I really do hope they come back. Coming in at number 11, I reviewed this palette this past year. I got it for the summer season because it's supposed to be a summer palette, but I distinctly remember telling you guys, oh my god, this is a fall palette. But coming number 11, we do have the Unearthly Cosmetics High Temp palette. Do we see the shades right here? Hello. It's fall along with some purple in here. Come on. It's stunning. First off, the outside packaging, beautiful color story. And the inside color story is just gorgeous as well. You're going to have the red, orange, yellow, gold, purple, brown. It's fall. It's supposed to be a summer palette, but y'all, it's a fall palette. It's a fall palette. She just unintentionally released it early. That's all I'm going to say. She unintentionally released it early, but yeah, I do love everything about this. I think it's a great fall vibe palette. I love the color story. I love the eye look that I created with this. When I created my one eye look, because I did like 2, I created a fall vibe. I couldn't help myself. So for me, at number 11, we have the High Temp palette from Unearthly Cosmetics, just because it does scream fall from the color story. It's just so freaking beautiful. And to round out the teens, we have one of my favorite ColourPop palettes in the entire world. This dropped down the list from the last 2 years, but I still cherish this palette. It's one of my only ColourPop palettes I've ever hit pan on, and for good reason. It is so stunning. It was an inspiration for me when it came to my own palette. This palette was an inspiration, and it is the ColourPop Little Ray of Sunshine. You guys have seen me talk about this palette. There's no tomorrow. I've hit pan right in the center. This is stunning, and if you were to put this palette right next to the Poppy palette, that'd be the perfect fall palette. Like, seriously, it's so freaking pretty. I love everything about this. It's a sunflower palette. This particular shade right here, which is a shade that I wanted to this particular shade right here is a shade that I wanted to have in my palette. It's that beautiful sunflower yellow. It's that mustard yellow. It's what you see for the fall. It's so freaking gorgeous. And I love mixing it with like this brick red shade right here. It's so freaking pretty, along with this little like deep Dijon mustard style yellow shade right here, along with this brown. Like, I loved my look that I created. I created like a halo eye look, but only using this palette, which I really should do again because I loved that look. I was obsessed with it, and it's what made me fall in love with this. And I just see this every time, and I get so inspired. I just get reminded of fall. I get so happy and look at it. So that is why it's always going to be up higher on my list, because of the fact that it does scream so much fall to me with the sunflower to the color story. I don't think the shade names really do. I can't even read the shade names anymore because they're so like tiny and white, and I'm like, what do they say? But for me, I don't really care about that. I just love this palette so much, and if you mix it with Big Poppy, it'd be the most epic palette ever. But coming in at number 10, we do have the Little Ray of Sunshine palette from ColourPop. Okay guys, now we're down to the final 9 palettes. This is where it got super hard for me. Okay, so coming in at number 9, we do the BH Cosmetics Orange Sorbet palette. Now for me, this palette is freaking stunning. It's a beautiful array of orange shades. Now, I obviously think that this is a beautiful orange theme palette that definitely screams fall from it. Now, granted, nothing else about the outside packaging to the shade names are fall, but it's the color story itself that I truly am obsessed with. Now, this brand, I believe, doesn't exist anymore. I believe Makeup Revolution did actually purchase this brand, so they no longer exist, but the formula in here is incredible. This palette has dropped down my list over the years, but the color story is just so pretty when you have the different transitions of oranges to reds to the golden oranges to like the brighter like champagne yellow. It's just so champagne gold. It's just so pretty. It encompasses the fall season, and I just love this color story so much. So that is why at number 9 we did the BH Cosmetics Orange Sorbet palette. Coming at number 8, I actually decluttered this palette a long time ago, and then my beautiful friend Heather Austin actually repurchased it for me because she knows how much I love fall colors so much that she saw this palette. She's like, you have to have it, when we did a mystery box exchange. And I'm so glad that she did, because I forgot how gorgeous this palette was. And it's the BH Cosmetics Optimistic AF palette. So here is the color story. She knows me so well. She knows that fall is my favorite time of the year. It's my favorite season. And this is fall. Now, nothing about the outside packaging to the shade names are fall, but it's the color story. You're going to have those mustard yellows, those sunflower yellows, the brick reds, the plums, the oranges, the golds. It is so freaking pretty. I did a beautiful fall look when playing this palette, and I saw this and I was like, damn, Heather knows me so well. She knows that this was a fall vibe, and it is. It truly is such a fall vibe from the color story. Nothing else about the palette is. Just the color story itself is just so freaking beautiful. It's what I look for in a fall palette. Now, the only reason why it's lower is just because there's other palettes I do think I have better look to them, but for me, this is a fall palette. Through and through, this is a fall palette right here. So coming in at number 8, we do have the Optimistic AF palette from BH Cosmetics, and I'm so glad that Heather saw this, got it for me, because she has my back. Coming in at number 7, we have the Nomad Cosmetics Hudson Valley palette. Now, this is supposed to be a fall themed palette based upon the Hudson River, and I think it's like upstate New York, I believe, and it's called Falling in Love with Fall. This is what they're saying that they're inspired by. First off, the outside packaging, truly phenomenal. You pull the color story out and you pull the packaging out and you look at the color story on the inside. It's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. You're going to have those mossy greens, the plum purples, the maroon shades that are in here, the brown, the oranges, the yellows. It is so freaking pretty. They did a beautiful job really capturing the season of the fall in this palette. Now, I do prefer this palette over their other fall palette just because this really is fall in my opinion, with the reds, green, oranges, yellows, browns, plums, and golds. I think it's so freaking pretty. So freaking pretty. I think they did a phenomenal job. This is the now 3rd time ranking this in my videos, and I get so inspired when I look at this. I get so inspired to look at this, and I love it every time. It is that perfect fall season. It makes me want to go visit this Hudson Valley to see the fall season. It's gorgeous. So Coming in at number 7, we do have the Nomad Cosmetics Hudson Valley palette. Coming in at number 6, we do the Be Perfect Cosmetics. This is the Carnival, the Antidote palette. Need I say more? Do we see how gorgeous that is? Do we see that majority of this palette from here onward is everything fall, with a few fall colors thrown in the green, but the rest are fall? I am so in love with this palette. I think it's so beautiful. I pull this out every fall season, and I just think it's everything I look for. Everything I look for, from the purples to the yellows to the oranges to the golds to the yellows to the greens. It's beautiful. The only reason why it's a little bit lower on the list because there's other palettes that just hit the mark just a little bit more than this one, but truly, I don't think this is meant to be a fall palette, but it is. In my opinion, it's everything I look for in a fall palette. It's so freaking gorgeous. I love this palette so much. I think it's so inspiring, and I just want to play with it every fall season. So that is why at number 6, we do have the Antidote palette from we have the Antidote, we have the Carnival Antidote palette. Coming in number 5, y'all, I ranked this palette really high in my Glam Light ranking video, and this palette truly is so underrated. It really took me by surprise, and I think I even ranked it number 2 in all the palettes I tried last year, because it truly is just that palette, and it's the Glam Light collaboration with Garfield. Granted, the outside packaging has nothing to do with fall, but it's the colors from the inside. I think it's so freaking beautiful. I feel like I don't have this shade right here in my collection. Like this beautiful, beautiful, like burnt orange shimmer. It's so pretty. You're going to have this beautiful, like, you're going to have this beautiful, like, golden orange shade as well. It's another orange shade along with a beautiful, beautiful, like light golden shade along with this beautiful, like, reddish orange shade. It's so freaking pretty. I love it so much. You're going to also have the freaking maroon. You're going to have a maroon shade right here, a plum shade, an orange shade, a like burnt orange shade, a little bit like a periwinkle shade, and then you're also going to have another orange shade right here. Like, for me, this is all fall. I created like such a beautiful look when I played with this. The look that I created reminded me so much of fall. I love everything about this. This is probably one of the best formulas out there. Out of all the palettes I'm showing to you, this is probably one of the best formulas. It's so freaking good. I fell so far in love with this, and this to me was so underrated. Not enough people talk about this palette, and I don't know why, because it truly is phenomenal. So if you guys ever get a chance to give this, I highly recommend that you do. It's amazing, and it is why it's at number 5 for my top fall palettes, because it's just so damn good. So number 5, we do have the Glam Light X Garfield palette. And at number 4, we do have another like repeat that I think was in like number 4 last year, but it is the P. Louise Stack 'em Up palette. Y'all, this is so pretty. This is gonna have that beautiful burnt orange shade, that beautiful pumpkin orange shade. You're gonna have this beautiful like reddish brown shade, pumpkin orange shade, a beautiful like lighter orange shade, the beautiful golden sunflower shade, a golden a mustard shade, a mix between like an orange and yellow shade, and they're gonna have that beautiful like burnt orange shade right here, because even though it looks brown, it definitely has more of like a burnt orange feel to it, like an orange undertone. It's so pretty. I love this. This is ranked, I think, number 3 in my first year, number 3 or 4th in my last year, and now it's number 4 in this year. It's so pretty. I love this palette so much. I think it's a perfect fall palette. Even though it's supposed to be like a money inspired palette, y'all, it's not. It's fall. It literally matches my background. I could literally put this right here and y'all just pick, oh, it just goes with it. It's just so pretty. It's everything I look for in a fall palette. So that is why it's ranked so high every year, because it truly is just, it's that bitch. Coming in at number 3, this palette actually dropped down from first place to second place, and now it's in third place. But my God, do I still love this palette. I still love this palette, and I think it will always be at least in my top 5. And it is the Colored Rain Cosmetics Queen Bee palette. First off, I love the little lenticular motion palette right here. So pretty. But it's the color story on the inside. It's the color story. You're going to have the sunflower yellow, beautiful black shade, which I can use for Halloween. You're going to have that brick, you're going to have the orangey red shade, pumpkin orange. And you're also going to have this little shade right here. This is going to be a little bit of a duochrome. It looks green, but it's more golden on the eye. And you're going to have this also golden shade right here. It's so freaking pretty. I love everything about this palette. Like I said, I ranked this really high in my first time doing my fall ranking. Ranked it high last year. And this one, it's still pretty high. I just like 2 more, just a little bit more than this one. But it's so beautiful. I use this every year for fall. I use this not only for fall, but I use this for Halloween as well because of that black shade. I think it's so inspiring. Plus, Bees also remind me of fall. Bees are one of my favorite insects ever. And I just think that this is so beautiful. I love everything about this palette. I speak so highly about this palette. It was $16. I don't think they still make this anymore. I really wish they did because it was such a gorgeous palette. And I'm just forever grateful that I got my hands on it. So number 3, we do have the Colored Rain Queen Bee palette. Okay, so now we're down to the final 2. And I go back and forth between these 2 palettes. One of the palettes I'm wearing on my eyes right now. But I go back and forth for multiple reasons. One, I created this palette, so I'll always have the uttermost love for it. 2, this other palette is just perfection. 3, the palette that I love so much also is everything related to fall. And I don't know, I go back and forth all the time between these 2 palettes and what I think is the perfect fall palette. But I'm gonna stick to what I listed. So coming in at number 2, it's actually what I'm wearing on my eyes right now. It's the All I See Are Signs palette from P. Louise. So the outside packaging is the reason why this has gotten knocked down from first place, because it doesn't scream fall. It's all about money. But man, is the color story on the inside fall. It's literally what I'm wearing on my eyes right now. I'm wearing this palette to create this beautiful fall vibe. It's so gorgeous. You're going to have all those different undertones of yellows, those different undertones of oranges, and those different undertones of reds, and along with some brown shades in here. This is what I look for in a fall palette. This screams fall. I love everything about this. Every time I play this palette, I get inspired. I do a look very similar to this, and I just think it's so freaking pretty. The only thing I did was use the shade Coastal for the black and a little bit of the plum, but everything else is all this palette. I think it's so freaking pretty, and it inspires me every time I see it. And the only reason why it doesn't take first place is because this is not meant to be a fall palette. This is a money palette. It has nothing to do with fall, but I see fall. So I love it so much. There's nothing in about the outside packaging, the shade names that are about fall. It's all the color story screams it. And I just think it's such a gorgeous fall palette. I think that you can create so many different fall looks with this. I love it so much, and it was so hard, especially because I do like this eye look that I created. I could not create this eye look with the number 1 palette, but damn do I wish I could, because it's so pretty. So coming in at number 2, we have the All I See Is Signs palette. Okay, so coming in at number 1, we should not be surprised that this is coming in at number 1 because I'm a little biased, but we have my collab with P.O Cosmetics. This is the Falling in Love palette by me. Now I'm going to be so freaking real with you guys, okay? The reason why P. Louise did not take the first spot is because this one has just a little bit more fall vibes from the shade names to the palette name. But the color story on the inside, it is fall. But to me, I look at it now, and while I do absolutely see everything about fall in here, I wish I could have done more. I would have done more yellows, more oranges, some reds, some browns, some more greens, and some more like golden shades, iridescent shifting shades. Like, I would have done so much more. I would have expanded this palette if I had the opportunity to create the ultimate fall palette. For me, this is a perfect on-the-go fall palette, but it's not the ultimate fall palette. While I will always love and cherish this palette, like there is no tomorrow, I am still so proud of this palette. I wish I could have done more. I wish I truly could capture the essence of fall season in this palette, and I couldn't. I was only allowed to do 5 shades, and I'm very grateful for what I did create, because it still screams fall from the outside, from the palette name to the shade names. You have a Ride, you have Sweater Weather, you have Evergreen, you have White Pumpkin, you have Bonfire. Like, you have everything kind of related to fall within the shade names, to the palette name, to the color story on the inside. Like, this is those perfect 5 fall colors that I was pointing out to you guys earlier in this palette. But if I had my way, guys, I would expand this tenfold. I would expand this tenfold to make it the most epic fall palette out there. So the reason why I took first place is just because it has a little bit more fall. It has a little bit more fall theming to it than P. Louise. But like I said, if I can expand on it, I would. But I'm still so proud of it. I loved every second about creating this palette. I had fall in mind, and one day, if I'm ever given the opportunity to, I will expand on this and create the most epic fall palette out there, because if you guys cannot tell, fall is my absolute favorite time of year. So those, my most beautiful friends in the entire world, are all 40 palettes. Now, Some of these are still around, like my palette right now is still around. If you guys do want to go get your hands on it, it's still around. Along with my Kaya & Koa Liquid Lip, you guys can find it on the P.O Cosmetics website. You guys can use my code to save 20% off. I believe the P. Louise is still around. ColourPop stuff is still around. Like, there's still 3 palettes I did mention that are still around. Some are not, but I love doing these palettes. They get me so inspired for the fall season. I get so happy ranking these every single time that I do it. I love fall, and you guys will see me do a Halloween ranking. You guys will see me do a Christmas ranking like I've done every year, and I just think it's so fun to do. Plus, it kind of allows you guys to kind of look at your own collection. What do you guys have in your collection that reminds you of fall? Let me know, because if there's anything I'm missing, well, I need to have it. But that, my most beautiful friends in the entire world, is it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please make sure you guys give this video a cheeky thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you guys have not already, because I do post 3 to 4 videos every single week. Make sure you guys head over to my other channel. It's R for Life. You guys get to see my cool, wonderful adventures with my amazing husband, Corey. And as always, the biggest thank you goes to beautiful, wonderful Patreon members you guys see right here. Thank you guys so much for everything. And to my subscribers and viewers, thank you guys so much for being here. Whether you guys like this video, you guys thumbs down this video, you guys subscribed, you guys did not subscribe, either way, thank you guys so much for being here. I love and appreciate each and every single one of you. So with that said, guys, I love you, and I'll see you guys in the very next video.